Edward Hale had spent his entire life building things that lasted. The glass tower that carried his name in the city skyline. The quiet estate on the hill with the old oak tree out front. The scholarship fund he'd created in memory of his late wife. He had always believed that if you poured enough love and effort into something, it would stand firm. But as he stood in the darkened hallway outside his private study, listening to his children talk, he realized he'd been wrong about the one thing that mattered most. "Dad's not getting any younger, James." Alexander's voice was sharp, impatient. "We can't just keep waiting for nature to do its thing." Edward froze. His hand hovered over the brass door handle. The hallway clock ticked a slow, deliberate beat behind him. James Lawson, his longtime lawyer, sighed. "Alex, we've talked about this. Your father's estate is locked until he passes. That was his condition. There's no legal way to." "There's always a way," Claire cut in. Her tone was cool, controlled, like someone negotiating a deal, not talking about her father. "We're not asking you to do anything illegal. We just want early access to what's already ours. Already theirs." Edward felt something inside his chest twist. James lowered his voice. "Your father is in good health. He still chairs the board. Asking me to help you accelerate things is crossing a line." Alexander laughed, humorless. "You think he's some saint? He spent our childhood working late nights and flying to meetings. The least he can do is make sure we're taken care of now." "We are taken care of," James said. "You both receive generous allowances. You have trust funds, apartments, company positions." "Allowances," Claire repeated, bitterness creeping in. "Like we're children. This is our inheritance, James. We shouldn't have to wait until he's in a coffin to have a say in it." Edward's grip tightened on the door handle. His knuckles went white. He had told himself for years that his children were just stressed, misunderstood, caught up in a world he'd unintentionally pulled them into. They'd grown up around drivers and staff and private schools. Maybe entitlement was simply a side effect, he'd thought. But this wasn't entitlement. This was hunger. Not for his presence. Not for his approval. Not for reconciliation over missed birthdays and broken promises. For his money. For his death. James exhaled heavily. "I won't help you with this. If Edward ever knew we had this conversation." "He won't," Alexander cut in quickly. "Unless you plan to tell him." There was a pause. Edward could almost hear James' internal struggle in the silence that followed. Finally, James said quietly, "I'm leaving. This conversation is over." Footsteps shuffled. Chairs moved. Edward stepped back into the shadow of a side alcove as the office door opened. James strode out first, expression tight, followed by Alexander and Claire. Alexander was checking his watch, already talking about a dinner reservation. Claire was scrolling through her phone, half listening, half bored. Neither of them noticed their father standing just beyond the curve of the corridor, hidden in the dim light. When they disappeared down the stairs, Edward slipped into the study and closed the door behind him. The room smelled like leather and paper and old wood polish. His wife's portrait hung above the fireplace, eyes soft, forever looking at him like he was still the man she'd married. He sank into the chair behind his desk, feeling suddenly, impossibly old. He replayed the words in his head. "We shouldn't have to wait until he's in a coffin." His jaw clenched. For a moment, there was only raw hurt, a bitter sting that made his eyes water. Then something else began to form beneath it, quiet, cold, and precise. If money was the only language his children understood, then he would speak to them in that language. He picked up his phone and dialed. James answered on the second ring. "Edward." "I heard everything," Edward said calmly. There was a long silence. Edward, I'm so sorry. I tried to shut it down. I didn't." "This isn't your fault," Edward interrupted. His voice surprised even himself, level, controlled. "But I am going to need your help." A pause. "With what?" "With a test," Edward said. "A very thorough one." He stared at his reflection in the dark window, an older man, silver hair, lined face, eyes still sharp. "I want to see my children's true hearts. No more guessing. No more giving them the benefit of the doubt." James hesitated. What are you thinking? Edward turned his chair slightly, looking up at his wife's portrait. I'm going to fake a terminal illness. He heard James inhale sharply. Edward. I'll get doctors. Private records. A plausible diagnosis. You'll adjust certain documents, but nothing illegal. The estate remains untouched, but you'll act as though preparations are being made. And your children? James asked quietly. They'll be informed, Edward said. We'll see who comes running out of love, and who comes circling like vultures. There was another beat of silence. Then James said, You're playing with fire. Edward closed his eyes. James, they're already holding the matches. They spoke for 20 more minutes, about logistics, about confidentiality, about how far they could take the illusion without crossing legal lines. When the call ended, Edward set the phone down with a decisive click. Outside the window, the city lights shimmered like 1,000 distant promises. He stood and walked to the fireplace, studying his wife's face. I failed them, didn't I? He murmured. I gave them everything except what they truly needed. His reflection wavered in the glass of the frame. A stranger stared back at him, someone capable of deception, of manipulation. Someone willing to orchestrate a lie so grand it would shake his family to its core. Yet beneath the ruthless resolve, a quieter question echoed inside him. What if I'm wrong about them? What if there's still something good left? He sighed, turning away. As he crossed the room, he caught sight of a newspaper on the corner table, a small ad circled in red from earlier that week. Part-time caregiver needed. Private residence. Discretion essential. He had circled it without thinking, imagining a bit of quiet company during his long evenings. Now, the idea tugged at him again. If he was going to stage a terminal illness, he would need more than just paperwork and staged appointments. He would need witnesses. He would need someone close enough to see everything, and someone pure enough to reveal what his children truly were by contrast. He picked up the paper and studied the ad again, his mind already rearranging plans. Somewhere out there, a stranger was about to step into the middle of his lie. And whether they knew it or not, their fate, and his children's, would become bound together. He exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of what he was about to do. If your parent told you they were dying, would your first instinct be to hold their hand, or count what you'd gain when they were gone? The letters were spread out on her small kitchen table like a crime scene, lit by the weak glow of a single overhead bulb. The kettle clicked off, but she didn't move to pour the tea. She just stared at the red stamps, trying to will them into disappearing. In the next room, a soft cough broke the silence. "Mum," she called gently. No answer. Just another cough, rougher this time. Lily pushed back from the table and crossed the narrow hallway to the bedroom. Her mother lay there, cheeks hollowed, a knitted blanket pulled up to her chest despite the stuffy air. The medication bottles on the bedside table were lined up like little glass soldiers, half empty, labels starting to peel. "Hey," Lily said softly, forcing brightness into her voice. "You're supposed to be resting." Her mother managed a small smile. "I heard the kettle. Thought you'd forgotten your tea. Just got distracted." Lily sat on the edge of the bed and reached for her mother's hand, the skin thin and cool. "How are you feeling?" "Like I've lived too long," her mother replied wryly. "If I were a house, I'd be condemned." Lily laughed, but her throat tightened. "You're not a house. You're very high-maintenance vintage." "Expensive, you mean," her mother said knowingly. Her gaze shifted toward the hallway. More letters. Lily hesitated. "Just the usual. Bills don't come in red if they're usual, love." The lie crumpled. Lily bowed her head. "They're talking about eviction. 3 weeks." Her mother closed her eyes. "You should send me to a home." "I'm not sending you anywhere," Lily said, sharper than she intended. "We're staying together. End of discussion." "You can't work 2 jobs forever," her mother murmured. "You're falling asleep on buses, Lily. You missed your stop twice last week." "I'll manage," Lily insisted. I need something that pays a little better. That's all." She didn't say the rest, that the little better needed to be a miracle. Her phone buzzed on the windowsill. She squeezed her mother's hand before standing to check it. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, until she remembered the application she'd sent 3 days ago in a half-despairing rush. Thank you for watching. Comment part 2 if you enjoy this story. Subscribe and turn on your notification bell.